All right, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Dion for Congress, and I'm doing Dion's Daily Dose. So I'm trying something a little new with the cameras and stuff. I got some stuff that I'm trying to work out on this. It seems to be working. I'm not thrilled with it yet, so please bear with me. It's going to get better. Tonight's is kind of, but I'm trying to get rid of I've got a glare, if you notice, on this poster back here. So it's not the best angle. I'm working on it. I want to use my camera, on my phone for this, and it's still under construction, as it were. I promise I'm going to get it fixed soon. So just kind of bear with me. I know it's not ideal, but it will get better. So I don't know if you guys know this, but since 1971, the war on drugs has cost the United States an estimated $1 trillion, right? Put that up. In 2015, the federal government spent an estimated $9.2 million every single day, over $9 million a day, to incarcerate people charged with drug-related offenses. That's more than $3 billion annually, right? That's a lot of money. Imagine what we could do with that money. I'd like to hear from you. What do you think we could do differently? What do you think we could do better? I'll show you what Portugal did, right? Portugal's answer to the heroin crisis. It was updated today, right? Today's the 22nd. Yes. So it's a really good article. Like always, I will copy it into the chat so you can check it out for yourself. So we have. Well, why isn't it switching it over? Hold on. There we go. Okay. So what Portugal did is kind of a quick summary for those of you not familiar with it. Portugal actually made it, I won't say they made it legal, because that's not exactly what they did. What they did was they made it to where it's decriminalized. If you're caught with less than a 10-day supply, right, then they give treatment instead of, I'm still working on this. They give treatment, there we go, rather than lock you up. Now, not everybody, but a lot of people said that this was going to result in massive numbers of people being locked up and drug use, and right? But it's not. They have all kinds of stuff that's happening there that is against what most people said would happen. This obviously, in this, it talks about some stuff. See, in a deeply Catholic country of only 10 million, just a generation removed from the yoke of a fascist government, stigma toward drug users runs high. Critics raised fears that the policy would increase addiction and turn the country into a haven for drug users. What happened back in 2001, the country decriminalized the use of all drugs. By the late 1990s, it seemed that nearly everyone in Portugal knew someone struggling with an addiction, much as the opioid crisis has pervaded the American consciousness. That made it easier to sell the reforms. Drug use and addiction began being treated as public health problems, not legal infractions. Portugal stopped charging people caught with a personal supply of drugs. The country's leaders also broadened treatment capacity and harm reduction efforts, such as needle exchanges to protect users from blood-borne diseases such as HIV. Now, here's my question. Do you believe that our current policy is doing what we need in order to help the war on drugs? We're spending vast amounts of money on it. We're locking people up at rates higher than ever. What is the solution? Is Portugal on something here, or do they have an idea? Before we go on, I want to get you guys' opinion on how this camera's working out. Is it better than what I was using before? Is it worse? Does there seem to be more lag, less lag? It's hard for me to tell on my end. It's still something that I'm, working with. If you think the other one's better, I will switch back to the other one after this, but I want to get your opinion on it. So, going back to this, a 2015 International Journal of Drug Policy paper looked at the social costs of drug use in Portugal before and after decriminalization. In other words, money spent on harm reduction and treating addiction and associated diseases such as HIV and hepatitis. Costs to the legal system to prosecute drug users and dealers, and lost income and productivity due to overdoses or time spent in jail or treatment. Researchers actually found that Portugal spent 9% more on treatment and other healthcare interventions between 2000 and 2010 than it had in 1999. But costs related to lost productivity and legal proceedings decreased by around 25%, leading to an 18% drop in overall drug-associated costs. So if we're talking about just he said picture seems brighter, not the host though. Yeah, not so much. Why are all the words backward? Which words? The ones on the wall? Are they? Oh, hold on. Oh, they are. Yeah, because the webcam switches it around. Okay. Interesting. See, I didn't notice that before. Thank you. That's something that I'll have to adjust. I appreciate that. So wrapped up in trying to get the picture clean that I didn't even notice that it didn't swap. Because before I was using the laptop and it auto reversed. This does not. So does there seem to be any lag as far as you can tell, as far as the camera goes, or not so much? Yeah, I know. So Paul says Wall does nothing as the largest majority of drugs are brought in by the federales and from the East Coast too. I won't say it does nothing. There are still studies being conducted on. I mean, it is what it is. We're learning, what the effects of the wall are going to be. I will say a large percentage of our drug problem does seem to come from south of the border. So Lisbon actually went further last fall, launching a drop-in center to help users test narcotics for contaminants before using them. Lisbon's government also opened its first supervised injection site, an initiative similar to the proposal that has roiled Philadelphia for years. This is from a Philly paper, so they're going to have the Philly perspective on it. But Portugal's aim isn't to force people with addiction into treatment, but to help them stay alive until they're ready for it. The result? Fatal overdoses have plummeted from more than 350 a year in 2001 to around 50 a year now, one of the lowest rates in Europe. HIV infections resulting from injection drug use also have nearly vanished, dropping from 500 new cases in 2006 to 8 in 2017. So the conventional wisdom on the drug problem, right, has always been more money, kick doors in, take people to jail. But Portugal has actually shown, at least the statistics say, that it's not necessarily the only way, and they've certainly shown better results than we have. What do you guys think? Is there something to this? What? Sorry, hold on. What? You're good. Okay. So going back to this, Portugal's policies are not as unusual as one might think. Police-assisted diversion programs and initiatives that push treatment over prosecution already operate in cities such as Louisville, Kentucky, and Seattle. In Oregon, advocates are proposing a November ballot measure to decide whether the state should decriminalize possessing small amounts of illicit drugs. Philadelphia has allowed a small police-assisted diversion program in hard-hit neighborhoods. But Philadelphia's drug death toll remains staggering. The city of 1.5 million has lost more than 1,000 people a year in each of the last 3 years, an annual rate of about 800 deaths per million people. In Portugal, the death rate is about 5 per million people each year. Philadelphia officials have begun to take a closer look at decriminalization. District Attorney Larry Krasner was among a group of U.S. prosecutors who visited Lisbon last summer. The city's managing director, Brian Abernathy, has now acknowledged that Portugal is one place the city administration is looking for answers, although the coronavirus pandemic has put the city's plans for a more robust diversion program on hold. We're trying to meet people in addiction where they are and provide services, but at the same time, we need to protect quality of life, Abernathy said in March. Some of what Portugal does helps find that balance. So it looks like it has helped in Portugal, right? Looks like they've had a much better result than anything else. Oh, are you guys still getting a picture, or because mine looks like it locked up? Interesting. All right, I think this may not work. So Eric says, as of right now, that is likely more cost efficient to treat. Once that government money flows into that, though, the financial efficiency is likely to change. I would agree with that. So I'm having an issue with my camera. Can you guys still hear me? Relaunch the camera. There we go. Okay. All right. Okay. There we go. Yeah, I'm not sure if this camera thing's going to work out. I may have to continue doing the live stream the way I was doing it. I'm trying to. It's a learning experience, so I apologize for that. So, can you guys still hear me? All right. All right. So we have a long-running war on drugs here in the United States that, like I showed you, is costing ridiculous amounts of money. I mean, just insane amounts of money every year, right? So what can we do? Is what we're seeing from Portugal, is that an option? Well, let's look at marijuana, just that, right? We've got states like Illinois, Michigan, basically everywhere around Indiana, except for Indiana itself, that is legalized in some way, shape, or form. Michigan, Ohio, I think Kentucky. At least they're working on it. I'm not sure if it's official there yet. I know they're working on it, but it's still criminalized federally, right? We had an issue. Remember when California began the process? Oregon on the West Coast, they started decriminalizing. Yeah, Chris Wells says, I have a solution for your camera. Just throw money at it. And when you get bad results, yep, blame other people. Yeah, I know that was pointed out. I'm not sure how to reverse the image on this. It's because the webcam on the laptop reverses the image automatically, but this one doesn't. Yeah, so I'm not sure. We'll get it sorted. So sorry about that. I don't know if you guys can see, but I got this big poster. This is going to be one of my later live streams coming up very soon, but I want to make sure I can show each little aspect to you. So I'm working on that. It's the Spygate deep dive by the Epic Times. The whole thing with Russia collusion and spying on the Trump campaign and all of that. That's gonna be pretty cool. Let me know if that's something that you guys are interested in. If so, I will prioritize it and make sure I get it going. So there we go. I'm working on this, guys. Sorry with the camera. I think I might just go back to using the laptop because I'm having a number of issues here, but I don't know. I'm going to try something. I'm going to try to swap something out real quick and see if it works. I'm going to put this up for a minute because I'm going to see if I can get this switched around. And I don't know though. Maybe just bear with me for just a moment. I'm going to see if it works better another way. So I'm going to try to swap the camera around to the back camera and see if that works. It'd be like this. Okay. Start. Oh, no. Yeah, no. Okay. All right. Yeah. Do you think that's better or worse than it was before? It's still reversed, so I think maybe using the laptop camera is the only way. I wonder why it's reversed like that. The other one worked anyway. So yeah. So let's start with the DEA. How much of the war on drugs, right? How much of that do you believe is generated by certain companies, such as, or not companies, but institutions such as the DEA, the FBI, organizations like that? How much of that do you guys think is generated by these agencies? I mean, if we didn't throw so much money at this program, right? Would the incentive be there? That's one thing that they found, going back to this article. That's one thing here that we see, right? So they have a different kind of drug court, right? This guy, Paulo Alexandra Lopez Loro, took a seat in the waiting room of a nondescript office building in downtown Lisbon, down the street from the city's zoo and a hospital. 2 days before this February meeting, police searching for witnesses to a robbery had caught him with a small supply of cocaine. They'd interviewed Loro, determined he hadn't seen the robbery, and then gave him his drugs back, along with a summons to Lisbon's Dissuasion Commission. I like that name, Dissuasion Commission. The official title for what Americans would call a drug court, although this one has nothing to do with the criminal justice system. The Dissuasion Commission presides over cases concerning a personal supply of drugs, defined as enough for about 10 days. Selling narcotics here remains illegal. Police still pursue drug dealers. The morning before Luro arrived at the commission, Lisbon's news programs were buzzing with details of a major trafficking bust. At the commission, Lauro met with a psychiatrist for about 45 minutes, an interview to learn about his drug use and to determine whether he was in addiction or just a casual drug user. Then he was ushered into a small conference room where he took a seat across from Nuno Portugal Capaz. I have no idea if I'm saying these names right. A trained sociologist who has run Lisbon's Dissuasion Commission for years, and another staffer. Capaz, dressed in jeans and a bright yellow long-sleeve t-shirt, talked to Lauro about his next steps. About 80% of the 3,000 people who come before Lisbon's Dissuasion Commission each year are recreational users and don't face sanctions for a first offense. During the pandemic, the commission is operating over telephone and email. Subsequent offenses might result in a fine, community service, or, in more severe cases, the loss of one's driver's license or other professional permits. So, like we were talking about before, they aren't criminalizing it, right? They're giving these people options. The first offense is pretty much nothing. Okay, well, yeah, Chris says, I'm okay with capital punishment for drug dealers and treatment for drug users. I don't want to tell you how many students' lives have been destroyed by their or their parents' drug use. You know what? That's a fantastic point, because we are looking at a situation. I don't know of anyone personally whose lives have not been touched in some way, shape, or form by drug use. Whether it's knowing someone who knows someone, whether it is watching someone succumb to addiction, whether it is seeing good people go down the path of addiction and watching their lives become destroyed. I think everyone can have some sort of empathy for it. But what's the solution? We've waged this war for decades now. I mean, I remember as a kid, right? The Reagan administration, just say no. Nancy Reagan coming on TV, just say no to drugs. And I believe it goes back to Nixon before that even. Hello for everybody joining me. We are talking about the war on drugs, the ongoing, never-ending, incredibly expensive war on drugs. What do we do about it? What's the right way to tackle it? Well, Portugal has some interesting results. It's not new. This has been going on there for quite a while. In 2001, Portugal actually decriminalized what they consider personal use, which is essentially up to an 10-day supply of it, right? Chris Wells makes a great point, but it's the government. They don't want to solve a problem. They want the tax money. I would agree with that. It is the only, it's one of the wars I think we can declare a victor, and the victor is drugs. We are not winning this. Not even close. We see people arrested, imprisoned, doors kicked in many cases, police making mistakes. I have seen stories of police serving warrants on the wrong homes. And don't even get me started on civil forfeiture. If elected, I can promise you that will be one of the first things that I intend to get rid of. I think civil forfeiture is a flat out violation of our rights. Period. End of story. It needs to go. We can pull up stats on that in a little bit, but let's try to get through a little bit more of this. So here's the goal, right? It's to get addicted people the help that they need. Let's put that back up there. The Dissuasion Commission offers free drug treatment, access to methadone, syringe exchanges, housing, counseling, and other services. Our mindset is centered on the medical system. Capaz said later, the justice system, in the end, their goal is not to increase the quality of life of a person. The sanction of a criminal justice system will not make you stop. using drugs. Lauro's drug use had been deemed problematic. He was homeless and had used heroin for years. But Lauro told Capaz he was doing better than he had been in a long time. He was living in a shelter and on a waiting list for an inpatient treatment center. He was still using cocaine, but making regular visits to methadone vans and using far less heroin. Lauro said he was ready to get his life together and reconnect with his family. The entire thing took about 10 minutes, right? After 9 months, as long as he stayed in treatment, his case would be closed and he wouldn't have to return to the commission. This is what we call an easy case, Capaz said. Please. So they go into a little more detail about the long push for decriminalization and what it means. What this means, to kind of summarize, we have seen a massive drop in the number of people that die from it, the number of people that are imprisoned in Portugal. It's wild. Let me see if I can bring up their stats here as real quick. Give me just a moment. So here we go. Let me show you just a quick search shows. There we go. That possession, right, has remained prohibited. Criminal penalties are still applied to drug growers, dealers, and traffickers. Despite this, the law was still associated with a nearly 50% decrease in convictions and imprisonments, right? And their stats, as quoted in the article, it's working. It's working. There's no way to say anything other than what it is, which is it's effective. So are we going about it wrong? I guess Paul says jail lockup does nothing to help users. And I would agree with that. So what can we do as a society, as Americans? Do we push for federal legalization? Do we push for, instead of spending the billions of dollars that we spend to incarcerate and prosecute people every year, do we push for these people instead to be provided treatment like Portugal does? If we do that, then do we get into a system? Here, before I go down there, if we do that, right, then who pays for the treatment? Because that's, of course, the next question. Well, in Portugal, they have, nationalized healthcare. But the thing that's interesting is here, when someone is in jail or prison, the state pays for their healthcare anyway. So these people are essentially getting the same services that they would be in prison, okay, a much worse form of it. Let me be clear. Obviously, when you go into a jail here in the United States, the system isn't exactly designed to take care of you in a positive way. So what do we do, right? If we decriminalize it, if we make it treatment centric the way Portugal has, can we afford it? Well, according to Portugal's numbers, it has actually reduced the amount that they spend by, I believe it was 18%, right? 25% reduction in, let's see, where'd it go? Right back up here. There it is. So costs related, bring that back up here, right? They spent actually 9% more, right? 9% more on treatment and other healthcare interventions, right? But the lost productivity in legal proceedings decreased by about 25%. So overall, an 18% drop in drug-associated cost. So they're actually saving money. Not only are they saving money, they're seeing less overdoses. They're seeing less people in jail that they have to take care of, right? So what do we do? What's the solution? Do you think that the American people could be convinced that this is a process that we could get behind? I know that the advent, right? The advent of here's the thing though. We have cities like Philadelphia. Philadelphia is an example, but it's, Chicago, especially West Coast cities, a couple on the East Coast, where we have these needle centers. And here's the problem, right? If you take a tiny part of an entire system that works and you try to implement it inside another system that doesn't, then you're going to see issues. And I think that that's what we're seeing, because we can look at the streets of California and know that their system's not working, right? Even with their needle exchange programs, even with all the other things that they have going on there, it's just not working out. So I noticed this one. Chris says we need to work on cryogenic prisons. John Sparta learned how to knit in prison. There you go. See, just cryo freeze them and then bring them back out, right? Here's the thing, so they were talking about doing, and I know it's all crazy sci-fi stuff really, but they were talking about doing a, like where time passes in your mind, right? It's like a mental prison thing. So it feels like you've been in prison for like 20 years, but it's actually like a week. Does that take away from what we're trying to accomplish with prison? It is what it is. Connie says you can't make people change. I agree. Just locking people up isn't going to change anything. And you actually create a lot of problems for correctional officers and police officers that work as correctional officers when you lock up drug addicts, because they tend to act out in very extreme ways. Let's see. Eric says personal of what drug, because some drugs cause too much harm to those around them. Yeah, there's different drugs, obviously. Says too many crimes of the drugs do end up ruining people's lives and employment opportunities. And Paul makes a point. Lots of this goes towards for-profit prison system, too, among our many horrible choices in this predicament. I was looking at memes for like the thumbnail for this image, and let me see if I can bring this up real quick. I don't know if it's going to work or not, but let's see. War on drugs meme. I couldn't size it properly. I'm gonna let you guys take a look while I am browsing through here. There's one in particular that I want to show you. Let me see here. Let's see. Where's it at? Got to scroll down just a little bit. There it is. This is the one. Over here on the right. In 2010, there were 853,839 marijuana arrests in the U.S. Same year, 2 private prison companies made nearly $3 billion locking people up. $1 billion. Right? So is that all we're doing? Are we just feeding the for-profit prison system? It certainly seems that way, right? It seems that way. And Mike Strauss says there are 2 steps to ending the drug war. First, decriminalize all drugs. Second, treat drug addiction for what it is. That's kind of what Portugal has done, but they still crack down on dealers. They still crack down on those that are, spreading it. So drugs themselves are still against the law, but they focus rather on prosecuting the ones that are spreading it, right? Dealing, but they focus on helping the ones who use it. Paul says the treatment is still more affordable than financing someone in county. Right. That's my point, is when you look at the cost of jailing someone, feeding them, clothing them, all the things, paying the workers, you have a system that costs a ridiculous amount of money to keep someone incarcerated, right? You have, let's see how much in, let's say Lake County, right? Let's see, cost of incarceration. Well, let's just say cost of incarceration by state. Let's do that. Here we go. Here, this is perfect right here. Let me share this. Boop. Indiana. Our prison population, 28, this is as of 2015, right? 28,656. Average cost per inmate, $18,065. $18,000. That's a lot of money, right? And that's what drove the for-profit prison system, right? The average is $31,000 per inmate per year. In some states, it's as much as $60,000. That's a lot of money. Imagine what we could do as far as treatment when we're looking at numbers like this, right? Let me scroll down here. Yeah, so Paul said 18%, referring to Portugal and the money that they saved, is a lot of saved stolen funds because taxation is theft, right? I get it. Still working on how to make this work. The mental state for those jailed for choosing to use a drug. Yeah, Chris says dealer, predator, whatever. Look, you're not going to convince me that a system that allows, look, marijuana is illegal in Indiana. We know there are people who go to Illinois, who go to Michigan, who go to these other places and buy it and bring it back here. It is what it is. But marijuana is very, in my opinion, it's still illegal, but it's very different than heroin, cocaine, things like this. I've never seen anyone killed by using marijuana. I've seen people shot over drug deals, and that definitely causes problems. Whether it's just hurt or killed. I have seen people killed over it. Dealing is never a good thing. We have far more issues in our country, I believe, than can be resolved by just constantly locking up drug users. I do think that dealers, we should prosecute. I mean, but keeping that in mind, I want to show you something. I actually have it on my website, but I'm going to bring it up on here. This is actually pretty wild, right? There are people who are serving life sentences for marijuana, right? For marijuana. So I'm going to show you here. I'm working on it. Okay. So BoulderDefenseAttorney.com has top 10 non-violent marijuana life sentence cases. Now, I'm going to drop that again in the do, and you can check it out at your leisure. But is this something that we need to continue to do? And look, we know in Indiana, marijuana is still against the law. We know it's illegal. And that's the other thing. So let's talk about that for a moment. Here, I'll bring this back up. So if you guys want to look at it, you can. So we have a system, right, where states are beginning to take it upon themselves to decriminalize or legalize substances and things that are illegal federally. So I'm going to show you. Check this out, right? These are people, 2 life sentences plus 20 years for a first-time offender. 2 life sentences plus 20 years. It's mind-blowing, right? Mind-blowing. I highly recommend you guys read through this. This is Michael Pelletier. He's a wheelchair-bound paraplegic, and he is serving a sentence of life without parole, right? They made him out to be a kingpin in a drug ring that was making billions of dollars, but the case was vastly exaggerated. I recommend that you read through this because it's insane. Life sentences, right, for non-violent marijuana offenses. Now, I just want to point out, right, that there are people that have assaulted people. There are people that have killed people. There have been people that have gravely hurt little children that are not serving life sentences. There's something very, very, very wrong in our criminal justice system. Ismail Lira was another first-time offender who was sentenced to life for the distribution of marijuana. He has currently been incarcerated for over 14 years, but discovered that the federal parole was abolished about 2 decades ago, which means that he is left without a release date. These cases are just mind-blowing. They are absolutely mind-blowing. Okay, which one? Tell me. I'm going to spend a ton of time on this, but is there one in particular? I'll zoom down through them, and you guys kind of vote for which one, and I'll cover it. We got Corvain Cooper, right? Again, life in prison without parole. We've got Pedro Moreno, conspiracy with intent to distribute 1,000 kilograms of marijuana as well as money laundering. He was sentenced to life and has served over 21 years in prison already. Andy Cox, an angry neighbor contacted the National Forest Service in 2004, claiming that they found ATV tracks running through their property and that they saw strange plants growing in the area. NFS agents were released to the area, which is where they found a cabin with marijuana growing around it. Andy Cox admitted that the cabin was his father's and that he was not participating in growing the plants, but that he knew what they were and what he had been there before. He was on strike 3, mandatory life sentence, right? He tried to run. I mean, I get it. Craig Sisal, trucking repair business that he owned, repairing trucks that had been leased and used to smuggle pot. Sisal knew the trucks were being used, but because he didn't report it, he was arrested on marijuana conspiracy charges. Again, a life sentence without parole because he didn't take a plea bargain, even though he had no criminal history in the past. This is all from Colorado, I believe, because it's Boulder defense attorney, right? Now, I'm not positive about that, but these are just from this site. There's so much more, right? Here it is, right here. Look, nearly 70 people, guys, are serving a life sentence for marijuana charges that include no violence. According to the American Civil Liberties Union, although there may be more, as the data specifically break out marijuana-only offenders. Justice has certainly not been these men and women. Older inmates are serving sentences of life without parole and wonder if they will die behind bars, which is why these laws need to change. You click on the link, 70 people, and it takes you to Mother Jones. Now, look, we know Mother Jones is a lefty site, but that doesn't mean they don't have some good information. Says here, it talks about another story from Louisiana. It probably goes into a lot more detail. But yeah, maximum security prison, Louisiana State Prison in Angola. Whew, that's rough. I will give you the link for this one. And it, there, hold on. I'll take you back to this. I'm just seeing, no, it doesn't have a list. That's what I was looking for. That's what I was hoping for, is that it would just bring up a list. But so Control V, there you go. So is there anyone out there, seriously, I was a correctional officer, strong proponent of law enforcement, but is there anyone out there that deserves someone that believes that someone should serve life in prison for a non-violent marijuana conviction? I mean, even if you're dealing it, it's marijuana, right? Yeah, Chris Wells, his wife Sarah says, "Lefty, they're conspiracy theorists." Yeah, no, I get it. Mother Jones is very left, like very, very, very far left. So, in my opinion, it is mind-blowing that we have people out there in prison, right? According to that article, over 70 people that are serving, or nearly 70, I'm sorry, nearly 70 people serving a life sentence for marijuana charges that include no violence. No violence. It blows my mind that this is okay, right? That it's not to me. And I worked at a prison. It just goes to show, look, you know what? I'm going to show you some of the most ridiculous miscarriages of justice that exist. I wish I had the link. I had it earlier. Hold on. Let's see here. Here we go. Okay, this will do. Now I'm going to show you the difference, right? Let's put this up here. Okay. Let's go back over here. I don't know what there. Come on, go away. There. So, 10 times rich people got away with murder, right? No secret that the rich and powerful get away with crimes that would normally put most people in jail. But these next 10 stories of wealthy people getting away with murder are so cringeworthy, it's almost beyond belief. Laura Bush. Oh, go away. You guys know who Laura Bush is? If you watch Family Guy, you might have noticed in one of the episodes there was a casual mention that, quote, Laura Bush killed a guy. Well, sadly, this is actually true. Before she became First Lady of the United States, she was a high school student named Laura Welch, living in Midland, Texas. In 1963, Laura was just 17 years old, and she and a friend were trying to rush to the movies before the film was set to start. She was in such a hurry that she accidentally ran a stop sign and killed one of her school's star football players, Mike Douglas. Laura is the daughter of a wealthy property developer, so her father was able to pay for a lawyer, and she never had to go through any kind of for killing Douglas. As an adult, she wrote that the whole experience made her feel so guilty she was afraid to ever apologize to Douglas's parents, and she tried to pretend that the accident never happened. So we have poor people, right, who are, oh, it's going to do this. Hold on. We have poor people who are serving life for marijuana convictions. And we have rich people who literally get away with killing people. I'm not going to go through the whole thing. I'll just show you the top 10, right? John McAfee, Robert Durst, oh boy, Voryuth Uvidya, Leopold and Loeb, yep, Marguerite Alibert, Ethan Couch. Yeah, this guy. So I will stop in this. Oh my God. This one just infuriates me. It really does. In 2013, a 16-year-old named Ethan Couch stole beer and went drunk driving with his friends. He killed four people who had been standing on the side of Fort Worth, Texas, and his passenger is now living with severe brain damage. Couch's parents were millionaires, and they often left him alone to have parties in their mansion unattended. They paid for a lawyer who convinced the jury that the boy was suffering from affluenza, a made-up psychological syndrome where someone can be so rich, spoiled, and privileged that they cannot even grasp consequences of reality and should therefore not be responsible for their own actions. He was ordered to go to rehab instead of prison. Do you think for one moment that if any of us did that we would go to rehab? Not a chance on God's green earth, right? Infuriating. If you think this sounds like total bull, that's because it is. Ethan Couch refused in rehab and went on to violate his parole. When he was 19, he tried to run to Mexico. He spent 2 years in jail, but he now walks free once again. 2 years, right? Only because he tried to run to Mexico and violated his parole. Before that, he was just going to go to rehab for killing 4 people. And his passenger is now living with severe brain damage. Bruh. Oracorn, I don't even know how you say it. Oracorn, holy. The Fasaden na Ayuya. Sure. We'll call her Aura. Right? Sao Bunwat and Issei Sagawa. Yeah, so I'm not going to read this. You guys are more than welcome to here. This is yeah, we're just going to there's some pretty wild stuff on there. And that's just the top 10. There are so many, right? So many. So do you believe, in the comments, do you believe that we can fix our, as Chris Wells points out, where is she indeed, right? The number one, I don't care who you are. You don't know. How many is it now? Like 71 people who have been arcanicided, right? Arkancide? How is that how they say it? Arcanicide? Arkancide? Yeah. And you know, fingers crossed on that. I really hope we see that come to fruition very soon. And that's again, you guys can't see it behind me because this camera isn't working that well, but let's see. Hold on. Should I look up Bernard Carter and see what we got as far as the internet gives us, Paul? So look, we have tons of people that are getting away with stuff they shouldn't. We have tons of people that are getting locked up for ridiculously, in my opinion, overblown sentences for crimes. What's the solution? What do we do? Well, one thing that I want to do as your congressman is rich people have got to stop getting away with crap. We've got to stop treating the poor like second-class citizens. Look, if you haven't seen the Netflix it's a documentary called Survivor's Guide to Prison. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend you watch it. But it all comes down to plea deals and conviction rates. Because let me tell you, if you go into the criminal justice system, you get arrested, get locked up, right? You get booked into the jail, and you have money, you're good, right? You can afford a fantastic lawyer. You can bail out. You can fight your case from outside. I'm not saying no rich people ever go to jail. What I'm saying is it's a heck of a lot easier to fight your case on the outside than it is on the inside. A heck of a lot easier. It's also better when you have a good lawyer, right? You got a good, a lot easier to fight a case. I mean, OJ, hello, McFly. So there are definite major disparities between the way rich people are treated and the way poor people are treated. It's not. I don't think that there's. I don't think that there's a. I don't think that it comes down to just economics. There are other issues at play here, right? But I would say that the biggest factor in any disparities are the rich poor divide. Because when you go to prison or even jail as a poor person, it's it's 10 times different. I mean, the world of difference, right? Night and day versus going to jail or prison with money. Even if you go, right, as a even if you go for something that they don't let you out on, you're locked in, right? No bail. Hold on. I had to get a root beer. Even if you go and you're locked down and you can't leave, no bail, it was a horrific crime, worry about the flight, all that, right? You're still golden because if you got money on your books, you can buy protection. That's just the way it is, unless, of course, your name is Jeffrey Epstein, who did not kill himself. Other than that, you can indeed pay for protection. What? So I guess it comes down to rich, poor, right? Just like everything else in this country. Let's see here. Let's see if I miss. Oh, yeah. Paul says there are murderers out on bracelets in Lake County who travel south to violate again. Yeah. I mean, we have a serious issue here with justice. And by justice, I mean actually, well, first of all, I would say the easiest way to deal with this, the best way, we have to look at the root cause of the problem rather than the symptoms, right? Some of the symptoms are prosecutors are worried about their conviction rates. We have overwhelmed public defenders who have cases than they could possibly ever take care of realistically. We have a system that is designed to keep you in. It's designed to make you a product of your environment. When you treat people like animals, they're going to act like animals. That's just the way it is. And look, I was a CO. I know there are people that deserve to be locked up. They should never see the outside of a cell again. They do exist. However, there are people that are unfairly targeted. There are people that shouldn't be locked up, given the severity of the crime or lack thereof. Let's see here. Yeah, Paul says are being processed and they find out people, like a judge, and you get your own cell. He said, I'll find you the articles on it. It gets better, LOL of sorts. Yeah. We might do a stream on that sometime. I'm always interested in more and interesting. Oh man, I forgot to put my brand back up. I just noticed that. Hold up. Where'd it go? There it is. There you go. I was doing a demo for someone and I forgot to put it back. So there you go. We have a ton. What is this? Is that okay? All right. He doesn't want to be on camera, but he does want to bother me while I'm on camera. So it's all right. So there are tons of stuff that we, in order to make sure that people are treated fairly. But it's going to require all of us working together. It's going to require people willing to look at the data. It's going to require people that are willing to talk to people across the aisle. It's going to require It's going to require tons of stuff. There are, look, I'm going to tell you, for those of you who aren't aware, I'm going to drop it down right here for you. The end. Look, go to the 1 hour mark, and here it is. So in 1993, 94, somewhere around there, right? I was like 19 years old. I got arrested. Criminal damage to coin-operated vending machines. It's on my website. It's, DionBergeron.com. It's not a secret. I have both sides of the bars. I have the perspective. The guy that I was involved with, the friends that I had, he happened to have money. His dad, not him, but his dad had money, right? He got told, to be fair, we both got told pay X amount in fines and these charges will vanish. Now, he had the several $1,000s that he had to pay in order for his charges to go away. I did not. So I ended up getting arrested, having a trial, and going to jail for a sentence to a year. In Louisiana, it's 2 for 1. So, I did 6 months. I actually spent 6 months in county, and for Coke machines. All we did was spray salt water in the dollar bill slots of Coke machines. Well, he did, right? I was with him. Guilty by association, absolutely. That's the law. And so a year, right? So I understand what it's like to get ridiculous sentences for stupid stuff. Now, life for marijuana is something else. But he, boom, got away with it, right? Because he had money. And there's so many others, but I turned my life around, never got in trouble again, unless you count like speeding tickets and stuff. I got those. But like actual charges, no, that was it. I said, you know what? I said, jail is not for me. I am not a jail homie. It is not going to fly. I did not enjoy it. But my life would have been a lot different in jail had I had money. And matter of fact, I wouldn't have even probably ended up there, right? Because you get arrested, get the opportunity to bond out almost immediately. You get, holding cell for a short time. That's not real jail. That's the holding cell. You get an opportunity to bond out. You bond out. The rest is all just on the outside, right? Going to court, dressed up in your suit, whatever. But trying to fight a case behind bars is why do you think so many people take plea deals? You can say all day long, I would never take a plea deal if I was innocent, right? You can say that all day long unless you've been locked up and understand the system. Nobody will listen to you, okay? Because once you're inside, they own you. If you don't have the money to bond out, you're going to be there for a long, long time. There have been people that have died in jail. Eric does make a good point. I'm going to make sure. Holding cell is the worst cell in the jail. Yes, fair enough. What I mean is you're not there all that long. That's what I meant. And once you get to the back to Gen Pop, it's a different story. But yeah, the holding cell sucks. Don't get me wrong. The holding cell sucks. You've got people in there that are generally either high or drunk, people vomiting. I mean, it's nasty. And generally, the ones that are supposed to be, keeping track of who's in this gang and who's in that gang, so they don't put them together, aren't, don't have time to investigate that or whatever. And next thing you know, you got, two different sides of the same city in the same cell, and it does not end well. Yeah, Paul says drunk tank. Exactly. So I guess my summary for you is I know what it's like to be on both sides of the bars. I've been in that holding cell. I've been in Gen Pop and county jail. I have worked in a maximum security prison. I have, held the keys and wanted the keys. That That's why I believe that I can represent you better than anyone else. That's why I believe that I can help to fix what's wrong with our criminal justice system better than these lawyers, better than these rich people who don't, have they ever had to pay for their actions, right? I don't know. Many of them haven't. Many of them haven't. That's my big issue with many of these career politicians that we have, both now and in the past, right? Are they have no idea what it's like to be us. They never could. I know what it's like to get arrested. I know what it's like to have my freedoms taken away. It was for something I did. Let me be very clear. I wasn't innocent, but I also know what it's like to straighten up, to follow the straight and narrow, to become a correctional officer, to hold the keys to someone's freedom. And I think I learned a lot from that. I think I learned a lot from both sides. So I appreciate you coming out. Hey, let me know if you guys would like me to do a deep dive onto the Spygate deal. This poster here. I know you can't really see it that well. I'm gonna see. Hold on. Let me see if I can. Get you a zoom in on it so you guys can take a look. Let's see here. Hold on. Let me unplug this. Here, I'm gonna get it right up there so you can see it. Okay, here it is. So it's a huge poster, right? I know this is kind of terrible, but there. All right, that's about the best that I can get for you. Okay, awesome. We will. I'm going to set that up, and yeah, it's pretty awesome. I got it from Epic Times when I signed up for a subscription. I'll be honest, I was kind of iffy about Epic Times initially because I heard a lot of stuff about them from, of course, lefties saying, hey, I don't know, they, and then someone said, oh, they take money from, or they're anti-China. I think pretty much everybody in the United States is anti-China at this point. But actually, I've found it worth it. Good articles. I will say that they pop up a lot, right? So we'll get into it. I took some pictures of it. I want to get a good system that I can share, right? Screen share, so we can go step by step. It's massive. There's so much to get into, and I think you'll really enjoy it. I'm going to try to set that up here in the next day or so. Let's see. Today, Wednesday, right? Yeah, today's Wednesday. Don't forget Saturday that I have one of the other Republicans running for first district. It should be interesting. It's not a debate, but he's willing to come on to have a conversation. I think it'll be really cool. I'm going to try to get this done so I can go over this with you guys. Before then, let's shoot for Friday. I'm going to try Friday. That gives me tomorrow to have a different topic and get something really lined up nicely, and we can really deep dive into it and cover it really well. Oh, Paul said 70th anniversary of Earth Day today. Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that. All right. So I appreciate everybody coming out, and I will see everyone tomorrow at 7. Remember, it's on YouTube and Facebook afterwards as well if you don't get a chance to catch it live. So thank you for coming out. Oh, 50th, not 70th. 50th anniversary. Okay. All right. Fair enough. You bet. Hey, like I said, appreciate you coming out, and we will see you. Oh, it looks like my camera froze. So, okay. It's still, yeah. Well, you know what? We'll see what happens with that. If you haven't seen the documentary Shadows, I would highly recommend it. It is a fantastic documentary, and maybe we'll get into that another time. I think it's really good though. It's well worth the watch. I don't don't know. What do you guys think about this camera situation? The other one, this one doesn't seem. I don't know. I don't like the reversal. I will tell you that. But all right. Take care, and God bless you, and God bless the USA.